Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Joshua Barry on Friday, the 12th of July. How's it going, Joshua?
It's going good, mate. How are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you for asking. It couldn't be better, I've got to say. Plenty of Rangers news to get stuck into. Last day of the week. Although it's not really the last day of the week because, of course, we've got a game on Saturday. So plenty of Rangers content to come over the weekend as well. So, all good. Before we get stuck into all the Rangers content, just a quick word for our podcast sponsors. As ever, MPH Boilers, the award-winning family-run business. If your boiler is on the blink, folks, then give these guys a call. They've got those wonderful Viessmann boilers on offer, and go to the link in the description and check them out if your boiler is on the blink. Right, where shall we start this morning then? Let's start with the stadium situation because yesterday evening, Rangers released a statement on the current state of play and confirmed that they will be using Hampden as Rangers' temporary home while the Clement Road stand works are complete. John Bennett issued the following statement. He said, first, I'd like to apologise on behalf of the club for the uncertainty that this delayed project has caused to our season ticket holders, hospitality clients, partners, and the wider support of this football club. The number of variables in this situation has made it extremely difficult to bring the one thing we all crave, certainty. Nevertheless, we are closing in on the most immediate solution, a suitable venue at which to fulfil our fixtures and house our supports. While the ongoing delay means that the club is unable to fix a date for our return to Ibrox, we anticipate that this will become clearer upon delivery of the necessary materials to Glasgow. Rangers thank the Scottish FA and the SPFL for their strong support in working to this solution. The club wholeheartedly appreciates the continued patience of our supporters while we work through this most trying of situations. I intend to give a fuller personal update by the end of July. So that is what John Bennett had to say on the situation yesterday, Joshua. We don't know yet when supporters and the team will be back inside Ibrox, and we'll give it a personal update at the end of July. What do you make of that?
Yeah, obviously it couldn't kind of come soon enough, the confirmation, and you know, the story a few days ago that it was going to be Hampden. I think the noise is increasingly at the start of this, Derek. It seemed as if Murrayfield was the most likely outcome, but gradually has materialised that Hampden is where Rangers are going to play. Obviously, for the majority of fans will travel from all over, as we know, but a large majority, obviously, if they are Glasgow based, it's going to be easier than going to Edinburgh, isn't it? Used to going to Hampden as well as a football venue. I think they couldn't get that statement and that confirmation out the way soon enough, and it'll be interesting to see and hear what exactly does materialise in that fuller update towards the end of July, because, you know, as we are aware doing these videos every day, there's a lot of questions at the moment. We're going to get on to speak about what Philippe Clement has had to say in the first of several interviews he's done over the course of pre-season that you can watch here or read on the website. There's a lot of topics to cover at the moment, isn't there? The most important thing is, in this unideal situation, at least know where you're playing your football as soon as possible. That's something that Clement was quizzed on as well. I think the fuller update towards the end of July will have a lot of talking points, purely because this summer is thrown up a good few already, and it's not even August yet, is it?
Yep. I think Rangers had to come out. It's good that the chairman has now apologised to supporters, and I know that the fans got emails issued to those season ticket holders, and they'll look to accommodate them in Hampden. So listen, it's not an ideal situation. There's no two ways about it. I know the manager was speaking about it as well when he was speaking to Chris at the Rangers pre-season training camp in the Netherlands yesterday. It's the first of a three-part interview I think we've got with the manager. The first part is on the YouTube channel just now. Folks, do go and check it out. He talks about the Ibrox situation as well as transfers and the mood amongst the fan base, and he goes into great detail on those topics. You can also read what you had to say over on the Rangers Review website as well. It's just a case of just getting on with things, I guess. It's not what we all wanted at this moment in time, but it is what it is. Hampden is going to be the venue. I said yesterday that I would have preferred of the two. Murrayfield is greater stadium. Give me that all day long. I can understand though why Hampden has been chosen for Rangers to play their matches. But let's move on to what Clement had to say then. Talked about transfers first of all, Joshua. Rangers have brought in a number of players already. 6 players have headed out the door. The latest being Robbie McCrory, who joined Kilmarnock in the last couple of days. Actually played in a friendly against Ayr United last night. But Clement here speaking about the sort of players that have been brought into the club and what we should expect from them. Here he is.
Players coming in who are like the longer term, like Clinton, Musiala. So he has a lot of talent, but he missed the experience. He needs to learn a lot of things. So I don't expect him directly to be a starting player. The same with Hamza, Viessmann. You have other players like Conor Barron, like Jefte, who can be fast already in my eyes. So it's in that way that we had also, and that's not easy, to replace 5 players going out of the building, and with Robbie it's almost 6 without money coming into the club. So that's not an easy thing.
So that was the manager speaking about the signing. So we shouldn't expect to see Musiala and Hamza Viessmann from the off. Joshua, is that understandable, do you think, from the manager there?
Well, we spoke yesterday. People be bored of me moaning about not just this window, but recent windows as well. But what Clement says there is this is the issue that Rangers have to fix, and why their summer rebuild, I think, is difficult. Might I add, it's their own fault. It's, they're not devoid of blame. Clement's not the one who's created this situation, and Niels Koppen has just come into the club, relatively speaking, as well. But when you've let 5 players go, obviously you have their wages freed up, but you don't have the increase in budget. You also look back to the summer before. The difficulty is, and where the frustration comes in, is that people, again, we touched on this yesterday, didn't we, Derek? People will look at that squad at the end of last season, and yes, the Scottish Cup final was close, and yes, Rangers went close in the week, but they didn't get over the line again. And there's a real belief that if that movie is to play out, people know how it ends. They know what that squad lacks, and I think they know the time it needs with a manager to build things, build a style of play, build consistency, but also just the fact that it needs more quality. And that is a simple argument to make, but I don't think many people would disagree with that. Clinton and Musiala and Viessmann, both of those signings, 20, 21 years old. I guess a little bit more expectation on Viessmann because it was a longer wait to get him to the club. Clement says, if you read or watch the interview, that he's coming out of a holiday as well, so it will take him slightly longer. There was rumours, would he go away to play with his international team this summer, for example? It's going to take him slightly longer, having been on holiday, to get up to speed. I guess it just heightens, and I'll put it back to you to get your thoughts on it, Derek, but it heightens the need for a little bit more, not even just experience, but players who are ready to hit the ground running. Because what people will be concerned about, I guess, watching that is there is a reality to the fact that the transfer window, Rangers are not the only club operating in it, and they do have to wait on some outgoings to get some incomings. Maybe that wasn't the case for these more longer term signings at the start. And I think of the 7 players that have arrived permanently since January, only Liam Kelly's over the age of 22. So that shows you the profile of player they're going for. Now, Mohamed Diomande is 22 years old, but he'd played 150 games prior to arriving at Rangers. Clinton and Musiala is 20 years old and has little to no first team exposure. So I don't think it's so much about age. It's about how players are ready to step up to play for Rangers right away. Someone like Viessmann has played more football, but in a very different league, and Clement kind of reiterated that in the interview, didn't he? The difference between the division he's going to be playing in, the division he's played in so far. So to throw it back to you, I guess the concern is that we aren't that many weeks away at all from these big significant games. Rangers are 3 weeks away from going to Tynecastle, and if you were to look at their strongest starting 11 at the moment, what would your expectations be of that August? How much needs to be done between now and then to make August successful?
Yeah, still a lot of work to be done for me. Rangers need players that can play now. Of course, we've got, just touched on it, before we know it, we're going to be heading over to Tynecastle. We've got the two Champions League, let's hope it's two Champions League qualifiers to come as well. If Ibrox and Nsiala are not ready for those games, Rangers need to find players who are at this moment in time. We don't know that the situation with Danilo, whether he'll be match fit to lead the line, or whether it'll be Cyril Dessers if he doesn't move on by then. So I can understand fans' frustrations at this moment in time. I think it's fair to say, the young lads Rangers have brought in. I think Cortez, you don't have any qualms about playing. I think we all seen enough of him last season to know that he's going to make a difference. Connor Barron, don't really have much concerns about. He's got plenty of experience playing for Aberdeen domestically anyway. And Nsiala and Ibrox projects, if you like. So it's going to take them time to get into the style of play, the demands, living in Glasgow and what have you, all that sort of stuff. Shefty, I can see playing a part, but he's a bit of an unknown quantity, of course. It's a bit a different culture for him, moving firstly from Brazil to Cyprus, then Cyprus to Glasgow. Bluebells are blue with an interesting point. Says kind of odd he's setting expectations on Ibrox when he's literally not worked with the lad directly yet. Yeah, not out there with the team at the pre-season training camp at this moment in time. Certainly looks like got plenty of potential. And looking forward to him in action, but I think we just need to be, I know it's difficult for many, but just a little bit patient with Hamza Ibrox at this moment in time. So, you can read the manager's quotes on the transfers in full over on the website, folks, or you can watch that interview over on the YouTube channel as well. Just on the fan mood, this is what he had to say about a bit of disgruntlement amongst the fan base.
As a fan, and if you don't know everything what's going on in the club, everything also that was needed in the club. If you don't know that and you only look to the results, then that you live in the emotions. That's also part of being a fan. So what we have in control is getting better results. I think we were really close in this cup final. And that we were the better team. Everybody said it also after the cup final. But a lot of people has forgotten that already now because the result was not there. So you first need to get quality in a certain level and then the results follow. It's always the way.
He also said, and there's a little clip that we've posted on our social media channels as well, Joshua, about having to adopt a long-term strategy at Rangers and not short-termism, saying that a house isn't built in a day, Rome wasn't built in a day, Rangers won't be rebuilt in a day. I can understand what he's saying. Fans would rather it was built in a day, though. He won't get time at Rangers if results don't go his way.
Yeah, no, of course. But what I guess he is trying to point out is that short term will not get them out of this situation. There needs to be an acknowledgement. I think this ties into why people want to hear more from those at an executive level, because you want to know, okay, Rangers are in this situation. How exactly do they get out of it? The letting players go out of contract, Derek, is a perfect example of that, because it's about squad mismanagement, and that comes down to, again, to reiterate a point, managers changing, styles of play changing, who is in charge of recruitment changing, who's responsible for squad management changing. And when you have all these decisions taken by a lot of different people, the outcome is what we've seen over the last couple of summers. So what I'd much rather hear from Clement something along the lines of, look, you want him to be upfront, don't you? I guess if he was coming out and saying, everything's going to be great, just give us a few weeks and wait until you see that team on the first day of the season. Similar to Ibrox, expectations, be realistic, treat supporters as adults. You've got to give them the vision, I guess, of how they're going to get out of there. Because again, to reiterate, it's not Clement's squad mismanagement that's got Rangers here. Now, you're absolutely right. He will still be judged on the product that is on the park. As a byproduct of all that is going on at Rangers this summer, we're not really speaking about his style of play and what we've learned from it so far, can it be successful in Scotland? What does he need to do this season to make sure that he gets Rangers over the line? Because you're absolutely right. You only get time to build a project when you have results along the way, when you have shoots of hope along the way, when you have players coming in who look like they're promising. And for me, a lot of the players that Rangers have signed, someone like Oscar Cortez, Diomande in particular, those are the type of profiles that signifies a shift in their recruitment policy. But you're spot on to say at the right time, while Rome might not be built in a day, you also can't go in and lose, as he'll know, a few games in August. That's not going to help anyone at all. The ideal situation is that you keep winning while you're building, but we know how difficult that is. But I just think, I don't know about you, that you'd rather someone is upfront and honest about the scale of the issue and the scale of the problem, as opposed to trying to gloss it over and then, because we've seen that before, haven't we? The example that comes to mind is Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, maybe through no fault of his own, who kind of built expectations of a big signing coming after Rangers reached the Champions League, and as a result of that not arriving for whatever reason, then that really impacted the mood. So Clement will know he's got to try and create a bit of a siege mentality as well. The difficulty is he can only really speak on behalf of the football and the transfers, because that's ultimately all that he is and has been in control of.
Yep, interesting point from Steve O, who says, listening to Clement, it feels like we're gearing up to be truly competitive next year and not necessarily this coming season. He needs Gerrard time to make us a success again. Whether he gets Gerrard time to make Rangers a success, who knows? I know there is no appetite to change the manager like we've seen in the previous 2 seasons with Michael Beale and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, barring an absolute complete disaster at the start of the season. So I think he is the man to lead Rangers. I think he does need to be properly backed, and he ties in. I mean, he said that of course it's dependent on players coming in. We want to see more arrivals coming in the door. It's dependent, of course, on players being at the club as well. Steve Snedden gets in touch. He says, do we have any steer on who else will leave? Any rumours with substance? Chris sort of touched on this after the Standard Liège game a couple of days ago. There was murmurings that Cagliari in Italy were keen on making a bid for Cyril Dessers. I think that was downplayed, but he does have interest from clubs all across Europe. That is the one that we're all looking at for a bit of movement, I think, at this moment in time, Joshua. Him and Sam Lammers are the two probably that I don't think have long left in Glasgow, and you can see them moving. And for money as well, that's the most important thing. They will bring in substantial fees.
Yeah, and I guess the difficult part to Steve's question on the other side of that, as you said a few minutes ago, who starts against Hearts on the opening day of the season, Derek? And if it's not going to be Igamane, and if Danilo's maybe not quite there, and Dessers is your man, you've got to replace him pretty quickly as well. I think those two, Lammers is in a bit of a different circumstance because he's not with the first team squad. The expectation was set a while ago, and I believe that the talks were held the week after the season finished, that he would go back, he would be allowed to leave the club. You look at his career and you can understand from his point of view as well, he'll feel like he has no time to waste, and Eredivisie is where he's played his best football. That's where there's a lot of interest for him. Again, you look at Clement's comments and you're trying to work out with the club exactly how much he should be worth. And we spoke about it last couple of days. If you can get that type of money for Lammers and Dessers to reinvest, given how they started, okay, that's maybe a start. But to his wider point, Rangers, I don't think, are in a position where many players don't have a price. Now, players always have a price. But what I'm trying to say is, if the right money was to come in for a number of players across that first team squad, I believe that they would think they can reinvest that better. Maybe Jack Butland is a slight exception because of how much Rangers value him at and how important he has been since coming into the club last year. But to Steve's point, I don't think there's many players who don't have a price that if it were to be met this summer, they could move on. The ones that appear closest, the most concrete interest, Cyril Dessers, Chris reported a couple of weeks ago about the interest not only from Europe but Saudi Arabia as well, and Lammers is clearly one as well. If you can get money back for those two, that's money you can maybe reinvest in a little bit more experience. But again, time is ticking, isn't it? Because we're only a few weeks away now.
Time is ticking, but the manager said there, he said in his interview that usually fine with international tournaments that the transfer window slows down a little bit. I don't think it's just Rangers. You don't see many teams doing business just now. We're going to get Chris on shortly, folks. He is at the Rangers training base in Holland. I need to send him the link. He is having a few problems getting in.
I believe he's actually going to be, not to burst the bubble, but he's going to be on with you after, is the latest I hear from him. So he's told me it's thunder and lightning over there, so it might be a slight delay.
Excellent stuff. I'll send him the link. We will be on with him. He is covering Rangers training at this moment in time. Just on what Clement had to say about Ibrox, folks, I'll just read you some of his quotes on that. He says, of course, at the first moment, you're surprised about that, and it's not the ideal situation, but that's our life. You always need to adapt. There is no use having bad thoughts or keep thinking about things you cannot change. It's something everyone is working hard on to get us back to Ibrox as quickly as possible. It's a thing the club did for our disabled fans and our other fans to make things better in the stadium. With the shipment, you don't have control of that, and I don't have the precise details. It's not important. What's important is when we are back there. It's not totally clear yet, but we are getting towards a solution, and that is the most important thing. You can read his full quotes, folks, over on the Rangers Review website. Just on the issue of who could be lining up at Tynecastle. Now, there is still a few weeks to go until that season opener. But Stuart with a point here. Somebody raised it in a video before, and I had NCL in my back line. I might have to take him out given comments. But he said, what is the starting back four against Hearts? If the game was tomorrow, Joshua, who's your back four?
This will be fun. If it is tomorrow, okay, so Butland and goals, get the controversial one out of the way first. If Tavernier's here, it will be Tavernier, although I think there's going to be an increasing conversation about where is Dujon Sterling's best position, and that I don't think that's going to go away because he has to play, and if he's not playing in midfield, then where does he play? If it's your starting back four at the moment, Derek, I would say that at the end of last season, it would have probably been Suter and Davies, or Balogun and maybe even Balogun and Davies, or Suter and Balogun. Goldson lost his place towards the end of last season, didn't he? So I guess that's an important consideration. Davies is a left footer. I don't know what you think about him. I always think that he's got deficiencies in his game, pardon me, but also I don't think he's made as many mistakes as John Suter in a Rangers shirt. So there's three players there. I'll kind of cheat that question. And then Ridvan, it has to be Ridvan Yilmaz. What about you? What would your centre-back pairing be? Or are you going to go outlandish and say Sterling, Nsiala, Balogun?
I think before I said Suter, Nsiala is my two centre-backs, Tav and Ridvan on the left. I've not seen anything of Jeffy to form an opinion on it, really. That's my back line.
I think he's played little to no first team football, so I think he's going to be a project player. But you look at that Rangers centre back pool at the moment, and I don't think many people would say you disagree with the fact that you need another player in there. Well, do you know what I mean? You need someone, I think, that is going to be the core of the spine of the team. That is what really signifies. I think Clement has spoken about it being the end of an era. The start of a new era is signified by then going in and getting someone who can go and play 50 games for you at centre back, whereas Rangers don't have one of those players at the moment. But if it was tomorrow, I would be tempted to go with either Balogun or Davies at left centre back, because I think Suter makes too many mistakes at left centre back. And then either Balogun or Suter at right centre back. Again, going on the basis that Goldson had lost his place towards the end of last season, comes out of an injury as well. So on the premise the game's tomorrow, it's midfield. Diomande, obviously, Diomande is a player I think alongside Cortez. Cortez is still coming out of injury. Played a planned 30 minutes against Standard Liège, but Diomande, hopefully there's nothing serious. He was taken off or hobbled off, Chris said in the pre-season friendly the other day, which isn't great. If presuming he's fit, I'd go with him and probably Nico Raskin next to him, just because I think that I thought Raskin was good in the cup final. He's not someone that's played a lot under Clement. I think there's some stylistic differences in there, but that has the. While you again, I still think you need another profile of player in there. You probably need more of a passer, someone who's going to sit a little bit deeper, is a little bit more patient on the ball. That is the probably midfield pairing I'd go for at the moment, with the fact that Conor Barron, you'd expect him to be pretty comfortable coming into a game away at Tynecastle because he has that experience, doesn't he, of playing for Aberdeen over the past few seasons. What about you?
Lots of comments just on the back line. Just Kira says, back four will be Tav, Goldson, Suter, Ridvan as Tav picks the team. Lots of people saying that they wouldn't have Suter in the Rangers starting 11. Listen, I think let's all hope that there's a few new faces, and especially in that back line. In midfield, for me, I would have Diamande, Raskin, and but I would stick Conan Barron in there. And I think I came in for a bit of stick because my forward line would be Cortez on the left. I had Egeman leading the line.
It doesn't sound like you coming in for a bit of stick with your predicted 11s.
Yeah, I had Ross McCausland on the right, so I was getting a bit of heat for that when I suggested that. Folk were saying, "Where's Dujon Sterling?" But Ross McCausland, for me, he could consider himself unlucky not to start that Scottish Cup final. Really came onto a game tail end of last season, and let's hope he can push on this coming season as well. But we do expect a few new arrivals before the team takes to the pitch at Tynecastle. Let's hope so anyway, because I don't think that team the teams that we've just rhymed off there, Joshua.
Wait, who are you going with? I missed you. Who are you going with at number 10? Because that's the big question.
Scrapping the 10.
Scrapping the 10.
Scrapping the 10.
The thing is, Rangers have, and this is again the difficulty about this window and the fact that it was so overloaded. Like last summer, you signed. If you look at how many number 10s you got in the squad, Cantwell, Hadji, Lowry, Lawrence, Dowell. I missed one. I think I've missed one.
Lawrence, Dowell, Cantwell,
Hadji, Lowry. There's maybe one I've missed. Someone can tell me in the comments if I've missed one. That is effectively 5 players who play the same position in this system. You know, if you take it back to this time last year, with Beale's system, you often had 2 narrow number 10s, maybe one playing as an advanced number 8. So it's different. This is the issue with squad management, because then how do you get these players out the door quickly enough? That, you know, we've spoken all week about how difficult a job that is seeming to be. But then you have, you know, 5 players in a position that a lot of people are saying, I don't know if I want to play with a number 10, or etc. I think that just goes to show why Clement's had to try and convert Lawrence and Dowell into positions that, you know, they're not deep line central midfielders, are they? They're not midfielders in a double pivot. But such is the reality of the squad he's inherited. It just shows, I think, how much more rebalance needs to be done to the squad between now and August, Derek, because again, you've got 5 players there and only one of them can play.
Yep, absolutely. Folk were saying, Joshua, Bluebells and Blues, so you think of Lammers, Joshua. He was playing as a 10.
Lammers, yeah. There you go, yeah. So that's, I mean, it's just the squad management that Rangers have got themselves into season after season with change in style materialises in situations like this. And on your McCausland point, Derek, I agree with you. I think what stood out to me about McCausland was the Dundee game when Rangers were 2-0 down at home. The game meant nothing, but in that, anyone who was there will agree with me. It felt like after it went 2-0 Dundee, it could have gone 3-0 because there was the atmosphere was turning that way, and Rangers had just had a terrible kind of 10 minutes. And McCausland, although that's not a pressure game in the sense that the points don't matter, I think that the goal that he scored there, the goal that he scored against Hearts, I thought that showed a player who was kind of growing and developing. You've got to remember he spent a couple of months out as well because of that injury that he suffered with the tackle against Motherwell when Rangers lost at home. So I don't expect him to play 50 games, start 50 games for Rangers on the right this season, but I do think he's a good option, and he gives you a lot. It gives you a lot of energy. I think his attitude is pretty impressive as well. There's some questions about obviously end product and overall quality. I just think he progressed well, and he should really, I think, go into the season as the second choice there. Maybe starting 20 games, coming on at different moments. We've seen him playing the left hand side as well. He's at time of writing though, he's probably your starting right winger, because is that Dujon Sterling's best position? I don't think it is.
Yeah, Andrew with the point says Derek wants Enciala to start even though he hasn't seen him play. I think that tells you what I make of the defensive situation at this moment in time, Andrew, more than anything else. But Hot prospect, incidentally. I mean, AC Milan wanted him to stay at the club. He had offers from teams in Italy as well. A few others were looking to sign him, but Clement's saying that it's going to take him a wee bit of time to integrate into the team. But let's hope he has an absolute stormer for Rangers. Right, that'll do us there. Just a heads up of what is to come. I will be on with Chris, who is at the training camp just now. We'll get an update on how that is going over there in the Netherlands. We've also got the second part of the Phil Clement interview to come. I think it'll be released on the website later on this evening, and tomorrow morning on the YouTube channel. You'll be able to find out what
tomorrow night. It won't be tonight. Tomorrow night. But we've got lots more. We've got an interview with Liam Kelly to come tomorrow. I think obviously the full coverage of the game against Ajax, and then basically keep an eye out. There's going to be a couple more entries of that interview with Philippe Clement. So make sure you're subscribed to the website. That's where it will be first, before it's on our YouTube channel. £4 for 4 months at the moment. We've also got, as Chris obviously I think mentioned on your video yesterday, an exclusive interview with Danilo coming, which is really interesting. Having read some of it about how he viewed his year. He had a really difficult year and trying to make up for lost time. So loads and loads of content coming over the next 5-6 days, but as well, keep your eye out for coverage. Tomorrow we'll be live before and after the game. We'll have a little bit of a more detailed look at maybe what we've learned from a footballing point of view after the game, if anything at all, and anything else that materialises over the course of the 90 minutes.
Yep. King Charles Spaniel says, what time is the game? I think it's 3 p.m. GMT, if I'm not mistaken. So a good old-fashioned time for the game tomorrow, and it is on RTV for those of you that are asking as well. So it will be good to see Rangers in action properly for the first time this season. Looking forward to it. Chris will be at the game as well for us folks, as Joshua said. So all the content, usual content to come your way tomorrow. Right, that'll do us there. Big thanks to Joshua and to you all for tuning in as ever. If we don't speak to you when I'm on with Chris later, enjoy your Friday, and we'll speak to you no doubt at some point over the weekend. Bye for now.